I get this question asked all the time. Jeff, where do you see the market going? Well, we're gonna try to answer that, but in 2023, I think the most reliable way to find out where the market's going is my trusty 8-ball. Where is the market going, trusty 8-ball? Yes, the market is going. Is the market gonna be a good market to buy a home in 2023? Reply hazy, try again. Is it gonna be a good market to buy a home in 2023? My sources say no. Oh no. Is it gonna be a good time to sell a home in 2023? The outlook's good. Jeff Packer here, team leader, broker owner of the Packer Group. We value educating our clients to empower them to make the best real estate decision of their life. And hey, you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. We put out a video once a week to empower and educate our clients. And hey, if you're thinking of buying or selling a new home, we've got a great team that would love to help you in doing so. So 2023, sometimes we've got to see where we've been to know exactly where we're headed. So let's dive in. 2019, let's look at what the market was doing back then. So 2019, we would have said would have been a seller's market. Homes on average were probably spending about 41 days on market. And most of them were selling within 97% of their asking price. Now, little did we know that this seller's market of 2019 wasn't even gonna come close to what 2020 or 2021 was like. But as a great example, let me tell you about 440 Roosevelt Street in Canton. My client hired me to list this home early 2019. After sitting on the market for about 25 days, we took an offer that was approximately $5,000 less than our asking price for $314,900. This was typically a year where we would, that would have been a typical listing. We had a good amount of traffic. It didn't always mean that we had bidding wars or things like that. And at the end of the day, what categorized 2019 as far as the supply and demand is the supply in 2019 was actually like probably the biggest it had been in a while. It was, we saw about 175,000 new listings hit the market in this Metro Detroit and surrounding areas. And that, is gonna be, you'll see a much lower number even in 2022, 2021, and 2020, where we would have seen more like maybe 150,000 properties that hit the market in those years. And interestingly enough, this home at 440 Roosevelt Street actually hit the market again this last year in 2022. And keep in mind, we sold it for $314,900 in 2019. It sold again for $440,000, which means it experienced a 40% increase in a period of roughly 4 years. So 2019 was just one of those years where we saw moderate to low supply of homes on the market, and the demand was just steady. And so as a result, we were still in what we would consider a seller's market in 2019. Hey Mom, yeah, I'm really excited to take the wife and the kids to Hawaii here, and we're gonna have a fun time in April of 2020. This is gonna be one of the best years ever. I mean, we just cannot wait. Trip insurance? No, I never get trip insurance. When's the last time you ever saw the airlines completely shut down or anything? So no, we should be fine. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get out to Hawaii and enjoy our time. Hey Mom, yeah, I know we've got to flatten the curve. So hopefully 3 weeks. I went out, rushed out to get some toilet paper. Golly, I had to buy from a guy out of the back of his car. It was like $30 a roll. So I'm just gonna portion it off, like no more than 2 squares per wipe for everybody in the family. I think that could get us through the 3 weeks. So hopefully they've got this thing figured out after the next 3 weeks here. 2020, wow. The year will always be called the pandemic year. We saw a lot of things change in 2020. I'll never forget 454 Sylvan Drive in Canton, Michigan. This was a home that we actually listed while we were shut down. The stay home, stay safe order that was in place. It was interesting, but we knew they needed to sell a house. They needed to relocate down to a new job that required them to be there in Florida. So we trained our client on how to conduct virtual showings using a Zoom link. We ended up listing this home in April, and within 11 days, we had multiple offers on it. We sold the home for $7,600 over asking price, and the buyer never physically walked through the home until closing. And the price of the home sold for $507,600 or $500. We knew something was changing in the market at that time, and we knew that this was potentially the start of a new normal. And so, interestingly enough, that same home today is now valued at $676,000 based on a automation value module that we looked at, and that's 33% higher today in 2022 than when it sold in 2020. And this was the change that we saw happening. The biggest shift in 2020 was that we had a huge drop of new listings to hit the market. That drop in inventory, which was approximately 14% less homes on the market than the previous year, contributed to then one of the best sellers markets that we ever saw. And so 2020 was really shaped by super low inventory, but then buyers that were buying in droves because the low interest rates, and a lot of people were starting to realize that their current home that they were stuck in and afraid to leave maybe weren't necessarily meeting their needs. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that as we talk about 2021. Hey mom, hey, yeah, I know, who would have thought the whole trip got canceled last year, but we're hoping to make it back out to Hawaii this year. So let's make that happen. But yeah, more importantly than that, I wanted to tell you, hey, mark my words today. We're going into 2021. This is the year for Michigan Wolverines. We are finally going to get to a point where we beat Ohio State. And I think, if you ask me, I think 2021, 2022, Michigan Big Ten champs. I know, bold statement, but Big Ten champs. Mark my words, you can take that one to the bank. Love you, Mom. Go Blue. 2021. This year will arguably go down as historically one of the best sellers markets we've ever seen. And a big part of that was we saw a stimulus money hitting people's bank accounts. And when we look back, the most amount of savings that the US population had ever had was rolling into 2021. And so buyers had more money. We saw in droves people going to try to buy homes. The inventory still was really low because there were still people really uncomfortable with the idea that they're gonna have strangers who could have COVID walking through their home and maybe infecting them. And so all of these reasons contributed to why 2021 became the best seller's market we'll ever know. That reminds me of a property at 14303 Fenton Road in Redford that we listed. This home had been rented out, but my past client wanted to go ahead and get it ready to sell. So we helped them create a strategy around fixing up the home after the tenant moved out, staging the home, and we made it look really, really good. And in February of 2021, all of a sudden we list this home. We had 100 plus showings over 4 days and over 25 offers. And this home ended up selling $25,000 over asking, which was a roughly 112% above listing price. Crazy, right? This was what the normal for 2021 ended up being. We saw buyers not only offering 10, 15% over asking price, but they were waiving inspections. They were waiving appraisal guarantees or the appraisal requirements. And so they were putting in these appraisal guarantees. All of these things contributed greatly to why the market ended up being what it was for 2021. And really at the end of the day, all this was driven by really probably a short-term issue, which was these living conditions under the pandemic that made where you lived be uncomfortable. all of a sudden that then was the contributing factor to why this happened the way it did. That same home on Fenton Road in Redford would be valued at $247,000, which is still 10% higher than when it sold a year ago in 2021. And so here's the deal. Why I bring that up and why that's important is that so many people thought that all these sellers or all these buyers are overpaying for these homes, and that the homes will never be worth what they're paying for, and that this was going to be a big mistake, and this was going to, basically the crap was going to hit the fan at some point. And what we're still seeing today is that the values are still there. And so 2021 was a very interesting year, one of the best sellers markets we'll ever see to date. But that then started to shift as we went into 2022. So let's talk about 2022 here next. Hey mom, yeah, 2022, man, I cannot wait for this year. It's gonna be awesome. I had so much fun with you when we went to Hawaii last year. That was great. I can't wait this year. Let's do something. Let's watch the World Cup. I love soccer. No, mom, I know you like to call football, but it's called soccer here in America. Like, soccer is what it's called. Yes, we're gonna watch it. I really think at the end of the day, Argentina's gonna win. Messi's gonna finally get it. You can put money on that. Take it to the bank. All right, love you, mom. Yeah, soccer, not football, soccer. 2022, the year the interest rates finally went up. Man, I can't tell you how many times year after year I'm like, oh, they can't stay this low forever. They can't stay this low forever. But then they kept staying this low. And so we thought maybe they will stay this low forever. Finally, we saw the proverbial crap hit the fan as inflation started increasing in 2022. That became the big story, the US economy, and all of that led to obviously the Feds raising the rate. With the Feds raising the rate, that meant that the markets got a little bonkers. As the markets got bonkers, we saw then that impact the Treasury market. And as the Treasury market got impacted, we saw rates go from 3% upwards to 7% in a year's worth of time. And so supply of homes was still really low, and they continue to still be really low. But for the first time in my time of real estate, 20 years doing this, interest rates went up drastically, and we saw buyers start getting skittish. Well, why are buyers skittish? Well, because all of a sudden the cost to borrow money became much more expensive during an inflationary time where people were already feeling the pinch as far as their monthly budget goes. And on top of that, house prices continue to go up. What? House prices continue to go up? Yes, because inventory stayed low. Look, guys, at the end of the day, supply and demand are what always indicates what happens with the real estate market. And as so low supply was there, plus even though there was low demand, it still meant that houses retained their value and even went up. And so one of the houses that kind of illustrated this quite well was 7624 Kingsbridge Road in Canton, Michigan. We listed this home in July of 2022. In July of 2022, we started to see the market shift quite a bit because rates started going up almost week by week, up. And so buyers were getting really, really skittish about everything that was going on. And so this home sat on the market for 20 days. 20 days isn't a ton. Again, going back to 2019, that home on Roosevelt sat on the market 25 days. So 20 days isn't drastic amount, but it was a shift from what we saw in 2020 and 2021, where homes were staying on the market 2 hours. And on top of that, for the first time in a handful of years, we started using a technique called price reductions if they sat on the market too long. And so this particular home, we had to do a price reduction. And when we did that price reduction, we eventually got it sold for $15,000 less than the original list price that we had, which was about 96% of original list price. On top of that, there was an inspection. So keep in mind, in 2020, 2021, we started seeing buyers waive inspections and all this stuff. No, in 2022, this buyer had the right to do an inspection. and it revealed some issues. And so the buyer negotiated an additional $5,000 off the home due to repair issues that needed to be resolved. We hadn't seen much of that at all during 2021 and 2020. And so 2022 started to be the year where the buyer started having a little bit more negotiating in their and some power in their side of the deal, and sellers were realizing that that was needed to be able to get their home to move and get sold. So 2022, we began to see the market shift. Hey mom, yeah. Happy New Year to you too. 2023, can you believe it? Man, and what did I tell you? Michigan was gonna be back-to-back Big Ten champs. Awesome, right? And I think I pretty much said Argentina was gonna win. So my predictions are definitely pretty spot on, huh? What? Yeah, I mean, I know I need to make more friends and not call you all the time, but mom, I love you. All right, well, I'll work on that. Maybe that'll be my 2023 resolution, make at least one friend. Okay, love you, mom. All right, so that brings me to 2023, and I'm gonna give you my best prediction. Look, interest rates, yeah, they're gonna continue to impact buyer demand. Affordability, it's gonna continue to impact buyer demand. So we will continue to see buyers who are just not eager to get into the market. We understand that. Rates will probably stay somewhere in that 6 to 7% range. The experts are telling us that we should see a drop in interest rates maybe by second quarter of 2023. And if that happens, and it's somewhat significant drop, then I could see buyers who have been anxious and ready to buy really rush to do so, because they can lock in on rates that are really affordable. And that could be really good for the spring selling season, because if sellers are ready to get their home on the market and they do so in that time that is just happens to be coincides with when mortgage rates drop, then we could really see a special opportunity where sellers are going to be able to leverage the low inventory, similar to 2020 and 2021. But we'll also see buyers who are excited about maybe being able to get a house at a lower interest rate. However, here's the thing. I think there's some unique strategies around this that one should consider when it comes to 2023 and how they're going to go about doing this. If you're a buyer, let me speak to you real quick. Buyers, get yourself financially in shape. What do I mean by that? Look, you're gonna constantly be working against the system if prices continue to go up, which unless inventory starts increasing drastically, we're going to see prices either stabilize and stay the same or still continue to go slightly in an upward trend. And so if that continues to happen, you're gonna wanna buy sooner than later, but you need to do so where you're financially fit and responsible. It's in your budget, it's in your wheelhouse, because we know one thing's true, inflation is gonna continue to be an issue. And so your cost of living is gonna continue to increase. So we want you to buy that home the right way. So that means you either need to increase your down payment so that you can have your mortgage payment be more affordable, or you need to readjust your expectations and look in areas where it's more in line with what your budget is. But keep in mind, just like we've seen so far in 2022 and what we'll see in 2023 here, is that buyers will have more negotiating than they did before. You do not have to give up everything in the kitchen sink to be able to get your offer accepted. And I would do that sooner rather than later. Again, do it before there's more competition. If the rates start dropping, there's gonna be more competition. You can buy right now before those rates drop, then you can always marry the house, date the rate, and that's where you can do a refinance at a later time when that interest rate drops and bottoms out for the year. And so keep in mind, we don't expect the rates to drastically increase. Maybe if anything stay the same, but maybe drop. And because they might drop, buying that home, getting it locked up while you've got negotiability is a good move. For sellers, we need to understand that yes, you need to plan accordingly. Listing your home and having it be on the market for maybe 30 days or 45 days is a reality. Maybe if it doesn't sell right away, yes, you may be having to have to conversation about lowering your list price and having a price reduction. But there are still so few homes available out there for sale. And so if you can beat the spring market, be on the market before everybody else, that could position you to be in a spot where if rates do drop and there's a run on buyers flooding to the market to buy, you will be able to take advantage of that. And that will put you in the best position to maximize your equity and minimize your time on market. So we want you to be prepared. Now's the time to start preparing. First quarter is a great time to do the improvements you need to do. Do that touch-up paint. Do those little odd and ends jobs that are gonna make your home shine even better. And if it's vacant, consider staging it, because now more than ever, as we move into a more balanced market where we get away from it being a seller's market, but we're not quite into a buyer's market, we're in a more of a balanced market, that is gonna be the time where sellers have to make sure their home is prepped and it shines above the competition, because buyers are gonna continue to be picky, especially when they know that inflation is causing their dollar not to go as far as it used to. And so they're gonna be picky about the home that they're gonna buy. They want it to be perfect. So the more prep you can do as a seller to have it look really, really sharp so that that buyer falls in love with it is going to be the best thing that you can do. Look, predictions are predictions. They're not always gonna be accurate. They're not always gonna be spot on, but I can tell you that what we're laying out is all based on what we saw in 2019 all the way to now. The two key factors are always supply and demand. And we know demand is low and it's gonna continue to potentially stay low, but we also know supply is low and that's gonna continue to stay low. And so we are in for a year in 2023 where I don't really see things changing drastically from what we've been experiencing the last 6 months of 2022. So we're gonna see a little bit more of the same. It's gonna become a balanced market. And if you're thinking of buying or selling, reach out to the Packer Group. We'd love to help you out. And so if you're new here, we put weekly content out on YouTube and we'd love for you to subscribe. And I gotta do that again. That was wonderful. It's magic, you know.
I got my goal.
You got it. You got it. I know. Well, then you didn't get your goal. It has to happen in the new year.
Shorter.
Definitely shorter. All right. Hello. All right.